Alrighty, gentlemen. Here we are here for, Mark's episode number 14 of Seriously Casual Video Game Book Club. Here to talk about Crusader of Centy for the Sega Genesis.
Dog camp.
Oh my god, I forgot to turn those off. Colin, Chris, Super, Darth, Holden. Thanks for joining me. You guys ready to talk about some Genesis games?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry for the dog champ.
How dare you? Don't worry. You reminded me to turn it off, so I
Take it
didn't.
from the top. Sorry. Redo.
Yeah, cut. All right, cut. And anyway, but yeah, another Genesis game. I feel like we've been playing so many dang Super Nintendo games.
When did this game come out?
This game came out originally in June 17th of 1994 in Japan, and then it saw a stateside release in March 1995, published by Atlas. Fatless, as we know and love them.
Let's go.
Let's
I
go.
Wasn't
didn't
that
realize
after the
it was
Saturn
such a
was
late
out?
Yeah, the Saturn was 94.
It's crazy.
Same year PlayStation 1 came out.
Damn.
But I definitely hella never heard of this fucking game.
Yeah, same.
So Chris, this was your pick. Chris, I want to ask, what made you pick this?
So I was just looking for Genesis games that I hadn't played. I had heard the name and I knew that it was a game in the vein of the Legend of Zelda, and that's about all I knew of it. And it's not a style of game you would typically associate with the Genesis, so I thought it might be interesting to see what it's all about. Yeah, that's why I picked it. I guess overall I think it's pretty good. It's pretty competent. It's got some interesting ideas, but it's maybe a little half-baked on the execution.
Yeah, it's interesting to take a look. Like reading about the game, like Wikipedia, like reviews and stuff. Like obviously, it's gonna get compared to Zelda. Like you're a dude walking around, you're swinging a sword. Like it is very Zelda. But honestly, I felt like that's where the Zelda kind of stops. Like all these Zelda comparisons are kind of weird. Like other than like moving, swinging, it doesn't, like A Link to the Past, obviously, but A Link to the Past, like a big thing in the Zelda games is like the screen transitions. This game is not like that. This game is more closer to like Soul Blazer or Terra Nigma.
I was gonna say Illusion of
like-
Gaia. Yeah.
Yeah, like it feels like that. So like everything you read about this, it's like it's the answer to Zelda for the Genesis. I'm like, I really didn't get that at all, and I feel like
Certainly hope it wasn't.
somebody missed the memo. Well, it's kind of like, not to go on a tangent here, but like Dark Cloud. Like just because Toin kind of looks like Link, and like people were like, it's the PS2's like Zelda answer. I'm like, what? Who the fuck are these people? Like what? Just say like they look at a game and they're like, it's the answer to Zelda. I'm like, no, it might. What? So apparently that happens.
Zelda killer.
Yeah. Like that's weird that happens.
Isn't it funny that those little like
Yeah.
sound bites become like the cultural knowledge of a game?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
make no
'cause-
fucking sense.
Because this is a game that I think probably, like, a few of us haven't even heard of it, so
I definitely
Yeah.
hadn't.
all
Yeah.
the people know about it is that it's sort of Zelda-like, but yeah, it's not really at all.
It's not. Yeah, which is really kind of funny.
I believe it has different names in Europe and Japan too. I
It does-
forgot they were though.
Well, it's weird. I know in Japan, or not Japan, excuse me, in Europe, it's called like Soleil, like
Yeah,
that's what the
something like that.
main
Oh, interesting.
town is called.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to see. It says, like I think it was Crusader of Centy in Japan. So I don't know. I feel like Soleil's probably a better name. because
Yeah, who knows?
like there it is name dropped a little bit, but well, I guess the Crusader of Centy. We'll get into that. But Chris, would you like to start us off since this is your pick?
I already said my
Oh.
thing.
Brief intro.
I got nothing else.
Okay,
Quick, move on.
Colin, follow up.
So I'd never heard of this game at all, literally ever, until I saw it on the list. And then when it was picked, I was like, okay, I guess it's time to find out what this is all about. Not a huge fan. I have a lot to say about it, actually. Poor Rachel had to hear me ranting in the car about it yesterday. Because we drove out somewhere, and I was sort of like just going through my thoughts about it to get myself together. And anyway, we'll get into it. But I agree with what Danny said earlier about it. Comparisons to Zelda both being, I think they're surface level at best. Like, clearly there's inspirations, but I don't know that it goes beyond that. And I also think that it's a disservice to the game to compare to Zelda. And I don't know if anyone else felt like this. And I know Danny mentioned like screen transitions relating to like, Soul Blazer and that kind of thing. But I found myself comparing it also to Illusion of Gaia more in like maybe in sort of narrative tone in a few places, and really shitty translation.
Oh yeah.
So we'll get more into that, but yeah. Anyway, not a huge fan, but I'm glad we played it.
Cool.
Okay. Anybody like to follow Colin, or I can
I'll
go?
go next. I'll go next. I had heard of this game before. I had seen screenshots of it, and it's always on my list. Not high priority, but I figured I'd get to it one day. So when it got picked, I was excited because I knew generally what it was about, and of course I had heard the same things about it being a Zelda-like, a Zelda killer, the answer to Zelda. But yeah, like you guys have been saying, it's basically just the way it looks. A little bit how it plays with like the swinging of the sword, like the way it swipes, like Link to the Past. But it feels kind of like it was an attempt at something, and they kind of fell short at what they're attempting overall. There's a lot of little things about this game that kind of, I wouldn't say they're frustrating, but they're very noticeable. And like the hitbox for the sword, for example, the sword swipe, like it's not very good.
Oh,
I think we can all agree with that. And then the jumping can be a little weird, but it's not too bad. Just little things like that. I enjoyed it overall for the amount I got to play. We'll get into that later. But I think that what I encountered in this game that shaped my experience kind of speaks to the quality of the game. If I was able to do what I did, and then something's not right. But anyways, yeah, I enjoyed it overall. It was a fun little playthrough. Kind of felt repetitive with the combat sometimes. I like the music, but overall it was enjoyable. I probably won't play it again.
Holden, would you like to? The people clamor for the Holden opinion.
so yeah, when the wheel spun, I didn't recognize it, but then starting up, I kind of remembered a YouTube video of it from like a year ago. And I think even more disappointingly, this YouTube, I'm not going to talk about the YouTube video too much, but the thing that was disappointing about it was the reception was like still that kind of Zelda killer propaganda, weird advertising. Like, I don't know how you could have that opinion. In the last couple of years as well, it's kind of insane to have it be comparable to Link to the Past in the slightest. And it clearly like tried to follow in its footsteps, and You guys know I like really weird, clunky, obtuse games that control poorly, and it takes a lot for a game to like make me actively dislike it. And this game offended me in its design at times.
Damn.
Hell yeah.
It has no respect for verticality in the slightest. But there are some redeemable things. I think it has some really cool ideas with remarkably bad execution. But yeah, no, that's my disjointed intro. I'm gonna be holding back from ranting for too long.
Oh man.
I'm right there
I'm
with
here
you,
for it.
especially on the verticality. The rules seem to change as you
They do.
playing through the game. I'm like, wait, what?
Totally.
Anyway.
Darth.
Yeah, so I kind of haven't played that many Genesis games. Really, like pretty much only what we played on Video Game Book Club. But I was sort of enjoying the Genesis-ness of this game. Like it reminded me of like like some old Sonic games I used to play on like like the PlayStation Sonic Collection, stuff like that. So I really enjoyed the music that way. I also thought it had some really cool ideas that were unfortunately I think like not fully baked, like some of you guys were saying. Like some things that I had high hopes for really ended up falling quite short and being kind of just meh. So that was a bit disappointing. But what I kind of thought was the most excellent about this game were, through the admittedly really bad translation, kind of a really fun humor and set of themes that I thought kind of played almost like an antithesis to the genre that the game was in, kind of like Illusion of Gaia. But I actually kind of had more fun with it than that game, which I found surprising. I was totally prepared to hate it, but I actually ended up liking it in some ways and still being frustrated with it at times.
I feel Colin seething. How dare you?
No, I have a hypothesis as to why that is, but it's fair.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
So mild spoilers, like didn't say anything to Holden, but I had mentioned to Holden, I was like, this was an interesting one for me because I have never felt the way I have with a game about this one, and not just book club, but like ever. This game had the weirdest tightrope for me where I couldn't tell if I was really enjoying it, and then I would lean into it. I'm like, man, this game sucks. Like, there's so much it's doing wrong. And then it would also lean back. I'm like, wait, this game's pretty sick. I'm kind of digging it. And it literally spent the entirety of the whole game wobbling. And I was just like, this is weird. Like, because usually, like, I know when I'm like middle ground, I'm like, this game's all right. But this game, it was like, I can't tell if I hate it or I can't tell if I really enjoyed it. And like, at the end of it, like, I think I came out net positive. But also, oh my God, were there some unforgivable, like, like, did somebody think about this? And it's just like, it's so weird. Like, that it was equally as offensive as it was, like, charming, and like, I guess like the ideas were good. I don't know. It's really weird. But
I remember going into the ice dungeon, accidentally exiting after doing like 3/4 of it, and I just turned the game off and loaded up Legend of Dragoon.
That leads into one of my biggest gripes with the game, for sure. But I'll talk about it later.
I mean, now that we're all through our initial opinions, I think we can definitely talk about, like, you know, I guess the main, like, the gameplay, the controls. Something I found really funny, because the translation, like, right off the bat, it was like, this is a little weird. And then they kept talking about sword throwing, and I was like, are they talking about like throwing hands, throwing swords, like just swinging? But no, then in fact, you literally throw the sword later. I was like, oh, because the guy's name was Sword Thrower, as you can see on the screen.
My boy chucks swords.
I was like, oh, okay, sword throwing. Got it.
Teaches bowl cut Jimothy over here how to throw the sword.
It's not a bowl cut, it's a hat.
It gives him a bowl cut though.
Yeah, I kind of do.
I will say, I like the idea of the Mario World over map, whatever you want to call it, overworld map, and the like little bite-sized maps and getting new items and going back. But whew, was it like really annoying when you didn't know where to go at times? It just felt really like, okay, I'm gonna go lap around the map. Yeah.
So did anybody else constantly not get lost, but not pick up the breadcrumbs of where to go, what to do, how to progress?
It was only at
Well,
this point
no.
for me, to be honest.
The last half a lot, because I just started tuning out the dialogue. I was like, this is gibberish. This doesn't mean anything to me.
Right. I was like, it's not so much tuning out, it's like almost arguably incomprehensible in parts, you
I
know.
will defend. I really liked that I never, like, this game always, like, I never got stuck. And it was like there was one moment where I might have got stuck, but it was like I had to think back on like what I saw. But anytime that I didn't know what to do, I just talked to people. But again, sometimes it was incomprehensible garbage. But then when you talk to the right person, you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
Let me
the
just say something on the talking to people. I found that because you lose the ability to talk to people for like the first half of the game, it totally broke my brain in like, oh, this is a game where I have to talk to people because they're gonna be saying music notes at my ass. So like
The same music
most
notes.
right, it's gonna give me different symbols. So anyway, like I totally like fell out of that habit, which is funny because like I love old games like this, and you talk to NPCs, so you know, I hated that.
So the only time I did run into a wall, it was the Dark Souls NPC dialogue problem where you have to talk to them 2 times for them.
Oh,
to,
yeah, that really annoyed me
yeah.
too.
So
It's
it was just
done.
I didn't talk to somebody in the correct order. It was at it was in the winter town when it turns to winter. I
Yeah,
didn't talk to them in the specific order.
it
so
changes
I was asking Colin
the
about it.
flowers dialogue.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
For no reason. So that's the only time I
Now he has
actually
intel for
stumbled
you.
in the progression. Because otherwise, I think it's very linear and straightforward.
I guess I'm
Uh,
dumb.
No.
No,
Well, no,
I understand what you're saying about like because you lose the ability to talk to people. It's like you don't even think of talking to people at all.
It is a cool idea. Like
And it does lean into
flips
the plot,
paradigm
too.
On its side, yeah, it was annoying. I didn't like it. It made me feel like because the game was breadcrumbing and hinting at getting the ability to speak back from the fortune teller who was in the hole,
Mm-hmm.
but then you get it way later at a completely different time.
Do you
So
ever
there were
find
times
fortune
where
teller again?
No. So
I don't even remember, man.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think I think this game's plot should have its own segment aside from the gameplay because man, do
I
got
couldn't
some
tell you one thing about this game's
Same.
plot.
What's up with like? Okay, here's some gameplay. You're cutting bushes, and there's no RNG to the spawns. Like, there's always
Yeah.
gonna be an apple in that bush.
Mhm.
What's up with that, man?
Yeah, it was not a good
No wonder
feeling.
why they couldn't do verticality. They couldn't even do RNG, man.
Yeah, there was
This
one
game
point
made
in the
me go
game
crazy, dude.
where the fixed spawns of the apples are underneath an apple tree.
An
I thought
apple
that was
tree,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
that
in
was,
Iris.
That was pretty cool.
I did enjoy that, yeah.
Yeah.
The part of the game that wasn't developed by AI.
Oh yeah, 1995, your AI contender of the year, Crusader of Centy. Anyways,
It's interesting hearing people say like the game really frustrated them or they found a lot of really mind-blowing things about it. It never really offended me or bothered me that much or really like got my attention and made me say, oh, that's really cool. It was just like, whatever. I don't know.
I liked the animal system. Like I'm gonna say, I'm trying to think. There was another
Yeah,
game
it
that
was
was
cool.
that had a system very similar, but I'm like the entirety of playing this, I was blanking out on it. But I think this game did it first, and I remember doing it like in another game, being like, I like this system, and now I'm like, wait, this game has it.
Yeah, I think it feels like we went too long to even mention the animal system because it's like that's the main sort of hook that I feel they didn't.
Right.
It's a great idea and it's super interesting that you can combine them, but they don't actually deliver on it very well.
Yeah.
I bet we had different like favorite combos though. I mean, mine was toward the end, the butterfly and the salamander. The one
Did
that
you
makes
even
them
play the
fight
game, man?
swing-
Butterfly and the
The
salamander.
Leviathan?
Yeah.
I called it the salamander.
Oh yeah. You just
There's
chuck the sword around the screen.
Yeah, because you get the fast charge up and
Yeah, I typically use the
those.
moa, the bird, with everything because it powers up the other animal.
Yeah, the bald bird.
that's
I think the
cool.
biggest problem though with the system was that it seemed like at the start when you're like, whoa, look at all these different animals, we'll be able to combine them and make all these cool things happen. But then towards the end of the game, when you kind of have them all, you just have this, like animal, and it sort of just makes whatever you need your other animal to do really good. And so there's no real point to, in my opinion, when I was playing, I was always like, hey, I'm just going to combine what I kind of want with that thing. And I never really mixed it up.
Right.
Interesting. I didn't use the dodo too much.
I rode or died with Chili and Inferno because it made your sword. It was like it
That
was
damage was insane.
Hell,
yeah, it
Yeah.
was, and the thrown sword turned that cool green color. I was like, this is cool.
That was one of the coolest combos in my opinion.
You
Yeah,
didn't
I
use
mean,
cheetah 90% of the time for just getting around.
Cheetah
super
made me
fast?
annoyed when I'd accidentally
Yeah, dude, me
fly into a
too.
hole.
Really?
This game had-
Which, by the way, sometimes it's a hole, sometimes it's a wall. God,
tell us how you really feel, Holden.
this game, man. You can't just break the rules every screen.
Dude, that's
Oh no, there's bees. This tiny little bee is gonna pick me up and drop me into a hole.
Shove you
Does
into
that make
spikes.
sense?
Dude, those bees are buff, bro. They're not normal bees. They don't sting. They just shove you. Take your lunch money.
Yeah.
Bully bees.
Yeah.
They're crazy.
It was really interesting to put on Cheetah and Leviathan and feel like you just turned the game on and fast forward because you're just like, I'm just gonna swing really fast and also
I
run
had
really
cheetah
fast.
on pretty much my whole session, my whole playthrough. I had cheetah
Same.
and flying squirrel.
Yeah,
I just loved Flying Squirrel.
I never got butterfly or leviathan.
It was
That's
a
right,
very
because you cheated.
Yeah, it's because I cheated.
Super. I want to hear more about this. Like,
Yeah,
'cause it
I
sounds
didn't
like
click your
you
spoilers when you shared them.
hella cheated.
All right, so my experience with this game is vastly different than everyone else's because I accidentally triggered a glitch that made the game first of all, it made it unbeatable. Second of all, it skipped like 2 bosses and 2 dungeons. So you know the ice dungeon with the blob guy that you have to alternate your sword powers to kill?
yeah.
So, as he's dying, he says a text box appears and he says something right before he teleports you.
Mhm.
If you walk out of the room as he's dying, you exit, and then when you come back in, the boss is gone, and there's
Cool.
nothing you can do about it, and you don't teleport, and that's that.
Damn, that's fucked up.
And that's what happened to me. And so I went and started looking things up, and I
Mhm.
figured out a way I could continue. So I went straight from that boss fight in the blob boss fight in the ice temple to the Tower of Babel and just planted the seed. Just climbed the tower.
Oh,
So I
Dang.
skipped the part where the caterpillar turns into the butterfly. I never got the
that's
Leviathan.
hardly the best part.
And then I did the Tower of Babel, that sky temple. I did that whole dungeon, which I thought was pretty cool. That boss is pretty cool. That dragon with the shield and the sword, that was sick.
Mhm.
But anyways, I finished that dungeon, and then there's a part there where you need the butterfly to hit a switch. So I was like, oh, well, I guess that's that. Yeah. But then I decided to watch the speedrun, and on that part, they do a glitch to hit the switch, so I did it. And I kept playing, and I was talking to Colin about it, and he told me that there's a part near the end of the game that requires the butterfly to steer the sword, and I
Mhm.
got to that part, and then I stopped playing.
What did
I'm
the
glad I didn't
speedrunners
mislead
do?
you.
Oh, the speedrunners, dude, they do a bunch of weird, like, wrong warps and skips across the overworld. They, like, walk through, like, trees and out-of-bounds zones and shit.
Start
So I wasn't
speedrunning.
about to, I wasn't about to fucking do that shit. Like, the any percent speedrun world record for this game is, like, 19 minutes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I thought it was bad enough when I forgot to save and I had to redo the ice dungeon once. So did you
I
had
redid
you
the
not
ice
saved?
dungeon like 4 times, dude.
Oh,
I did
Jesus.
the entire ice dungeon like 4 or 5 times.
Oh, Holden's fuming.
Just
It
to
doesn't
see if
suck, man.
the boss would come back. I enjoyed the ice dungeon. I enjoyed all the dungeons. I'm like, oh, this is
Some of
fun.
those blocks would respawn, and after resetting the dungeon on accident, I started really losing it.
I think this is one of the biggest problems with the game, is that, like you were saying, it doesn't have like concrete rules on things. Like some ledges you can throw your sword over, and some ledges you can't throw your sword over. And specifically, the ice dungeon is really bad for that because you're taught the whole game that when you move screens, everything resets. But then in that dungeon, when you move screens, certain ice blocks will not reset.
That's
and
what I'm
certain
talking
ice
about,
blocks
dude.
will. So like you go into this one area, you're like, oh, I need to break these ice blocks to move forwards, you know, but you're like on top of the bridge or whatever. But if I leave the area, they're gonna respawn once I
So
get
how
back
do I
down
do
there.
this?
How do I do this? That was one of the most frustrating things for me because I was like, what the hell? I was like running around for 10 minutes. There must be another way.
Mhm.
So I only encountered one that respawned in that dungeon. It was just one. Yeah, all the
They
other
would,
ones stayed.
yeah.
Yeah, so it must have been that one that made me feel like it wasn't concrete, man. And it's just like, and then, you know, the rest of the game still follows that formula where if you leave a screen, it resets the screen.
Mhm.
Except for most of the ice blocks in that dungeon, which is just, I don't know, that was frustrating.
Yeah, that dungeon
like-
just played by its own rules.
Some of the ice blocks would respawn and others wouldn't, and then they would change. Like sometimes they would like swap, like this one would respawn and the other one wouldn't, and they would trade. You know, it made no sense. I don't understand what was going on there.
Yeah, it's funny. I never really even noticed like these things you guys are talking about with ice blocks respawning. I guess I would see something like that and I'd just be like, huh, all right.
Well, it's ultimately not really impactful, just like confusing and annoying a little bit.
Oh yeah,
You know,
get
but I
it.
was confused and annoyed most of the time I played this, so it was whatever, you know.
Yeah, it's just an example of the game breaking its own rules, which I
Sure.
get.
Sure.
Though
Guess I
on-
just
I-
never noticed it. I don't know. Weird.
I don't think I have. I did notice the issue with ledges. Like from what I understand, is you can throw things down a ledge. You just can't throw things up. And I don't think.
Well, but that's inconsistent too. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're 10 feet up and you throw your sword over a ledge and it's cutting all the grass beneath it. And it's like, okay, Crusader of Centy.
And
sure, man.
furthermore, if you throw your sword over, let's say you're like 2 levels up, if you throw your sword over one ledge, it won't go over the next one, which
That's
also
true,
makes no
yeah.
sense.
Stop it! You're driving me crazy, Crusader of Centy.
Like,
What's
I
up with the
noticed-
360 aiming? It's kind of neat.
So,
it's kind of dumb.
I was
don't
gonna
like
talk
it.
about that. Like, I like the first thing I did when I was moving. I was like, "Wow, look at that animation! Like, this guy actually like spins in a circle. Like, you actually see." And then it came to the gameplay where I was
Yep.
trying to like immediately turn around and throw the sword, and I throw it diagonally and then get fucking smacked for it. And I'm like, "Oh, this is not fun." like it was the Dark Souls 2 problem of like trying to turn, but your character hadn't fully turned around yet, so you swing sideways. And I was like, oh, well, I guess this game just originated that problem. But once I kind of got used to that and just like delayed myself, like it got less obnoxious. But one thing that was obnoxious is I felt like an idiot fighting the chameleon boss at the end of that like desert temple. I fought him for about 30 minutes
What?
thinking, I don't know where to hit this guy. I have to hit the tongue. Like, what is going on? No, he's just for some reason immune to the strongest ice magic.
Oh,
Which-
that's
And, like, so if you combine
Ice.
ice and fire to make the strongest ice magic, still terrible translation, he is just immune to your damage. And there's no like tink sound, which Zelda killer. Zelda has a nice like good
No,
like
they have green apples
great tick
sometimes
sound.
though.
yeah, well they do have green apples. You have red apples. I never did get that fucking red apple in Anemone Beach, or the health apple.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I
okay.
came back to that thinking, oh man, video game, you got me good.
How
I
do
can
you get
bounce
that
the
one?
sword now. And then got the sword over there, and I saw the stairs appear in front of the apple, but not below it. And I was like, well, what the fuck do I do now? And
Did
I
you
left.
figure it out?
No, I left forever because I was too
Probably
dumb.
invisible or what is
You
it?
you combine the butterfly with the dodo,
Dodo.
and you can grab it. You can control it and grab
Oh,
it.
interesting.
Oh.
Oh, it grabs
Oh.
it when you dodo it.
No, you guide it up the stairs that you create. You
And pull it to you.
hit the switch, and then you
Wait, you didn't know you could do that?
I did not.
Well, some people might suggest that it's weird for the sword to be able to go up the stairs if it can't go up a ledge. You know what I
I
mean?
just
know
I
it
just meant
grabs
about
stuff,
the
though.
interaction of like piloting the sword.
It took
I
me
still
about
tried it.
10 minutes to figure out how to fight the puppet master.
Dude, yes. Okay,
For
well,
the
yeah,
same
but the
reason,
bosses
yeah.
in general, like,
They're piss easy. I don't know.
Oh
I
yeah,
the
like
whole game
a
was a
lot of them.
pushover.
yeah.
Yeah, the game wasn't hard at all.
And then it
I
gives you the
found
That's
cat
probably why I
too.
liked it.
So I could rant about the individual mechanics of combat in this game for like 20 minutes, but I will spare everybody. I do think though that this game, it's kind of what Super said. Like these little things by themselves, they're not really annoying, but when you combine the fact that you have to like turn around before you can swing, and the fucking hitbox on the sword is trash, and you're slow and the enemies are fast, and they get iframes when you hit them, and you I wrote a note on it. Sorry, enemies have no lag or hits them when you hit them. They just get iframes, but you get like bounced the fuck out of
Yeah,
town when
do
you get hit.
bounced.
All these things, and there's others, but again, it combines into like a grading experience. And so the best way to fight enemies, the objective best way to fight enemies, is to just throw the sword because it's got a good hitbox. It's safe. But then you're hearing this ear bleeding noise the whole time.
Oh, let's talk about how much this game sounds like a fucking Genesis game.
Anyway, I had a point there and I lost it. Fuck.
Ear bleeding, huh?
Dude, I like Rachel was sitting in the room with me while I was playing, and she was just listening to me like rant at the game. Like, I don't want to charge this stupid sword anymore, but it's the only, you know, because it's just super annoying.
It is
maybe
annoying.
maybe it's just me.
No, it's pretty annoying.
So, Colin, was your point just you were talking about the combat? Like it just doesn't.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
I found that.
I can't even. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Thank you for reminding me. So like there is an objectively like best way, optimal way to play in this game, I think, and I think it revolves around using the sword and playing very slowly. But that involves playing this game for a longer amount of time than anybody really has to, because you're going slower and you're listening to the sword make its annoying noise. And I felt like none of the combat was like genuinely challenging when I was going slowly and playing safely, but I just wanted it to be over. So I was going fast and like getting hit by things that I was trying to rush past because I was not having fun actually fighting them. And so like when you're getting chased by like 6 bees and 4 rolling motherfuckers and there's spikes, like, yeah, you're going to take a lot of hits and you hear the dumb, oh, I got hit noise, and you get bounced across the world.
Oh yeah, what's up with that noise? Sorry, go on.
No, it's fine. I mean, that's basically the point, is that the combat's super easy as long as you're just playing safe. But
So my experience was actually I found the best thing to do is just run past everything with
Yep.
the cheetah, especially because I agree the combat is pretty annoying if you're just trying to stand there and fight everything for all the reasons that you mentioned. Also, one thing I think that would have improved things substantially would have been if the enemies dropped apples sometimes instead of
Ever.
coins, because the coins are not actually that
I was
useful.
thinking about that too.
Yeah,
the
because like
coins suck.
you take so much damage and like getting hit is so annoying. Like if they at least gave you some health back, it would.
it even like shakes the screen when you get hit, dude. It's very traumatic.
I like the
Little-
noise he makes when he gets hit. He's like, ow!
I didn't know what was going
dying.
on the first 20 times. I was walking in the green water and he was making that noise. And I was like, what happened, man?
The screen shaking and the bounce and the health dropping didn't give it away.
No. It was confusing, weird, and foreign. And
I agree.
The health
scary.
bar was also mildly confusing because
Yeah, it was
like
weird.
it like it's like I get it now, but like you would hit max health and then it would like refill, and then sometimes did everybody else have 3 health bars gaming?
Yep.
yeah,
I like
No,
2 and
I still
change.
don't understand the health bar, honestly.
Yeah, it's really
It's
fucking
like
confusing.
energy
Every-
tanks in Metroid.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
every
all it
10
is.
apples is a big apple.
Yeah.
It's just energy tanks. You just can't see them all. It has a counter instead.
Also, I want to ask, what are these blocks here for?
They're
Oh,
nothing.
God.
Because I came back here in the past and I was like, finally, I'll know what these are for. And I came here and I was like, they're for fucking nothing. It was so terribly satisfying. Like, I was like, this is the least satisfying thing in this whole game. Because I was like, oh, here's the big secret. There's a cave
it was
there.
just weird stuff like that that would get me to check out so quickly. Because why are the blocks there? Why does anything exist, you know? Like, why does this game exist?
Going through an existential crisis. playing this game.
Absolutely.
Do you
That's how I
apply
felt
the
about
same
Dialogue.
level of critical thinking though to like other games? Like apply
Oh,
that to
100%.
Xanadu.
Xanadu was
say why
consistent
the-
with his rules.
I'm not talking about the rules though. It's just like these blocks. Like there's plenty of stuff in Xanadu that's like, why is that there? Why does that exist?
I've touched poison.
Oh no, anytime there was anything remotely puzzle-like, the objects that existed for the puzzle had...
Well, there was no
purpose.
puzzle there, just blocks. I mean, it's weird, but it's like, yeah, whatever.
I found most
I
of
would
the time-
argue every game we played, everything, just about everything had purpose, where like a lot of stuff in this game is just arbitrary design that
There's
makes
some
no
stuff in
sense.
Clock Tower that didn't have any purpose.
Now
Well,
let me
that's
tell
true.
you
like the
about
ham.
Clock Tower.
But Clock Tower at least like had randomness for it being a horror game and having like unique scenarios. There were no unique scenarios in this game.
Yeah, it was a designed MacGuffin for nothing.
There were 2 blocks for apparently
It's
no
world
reason.
building, dude. It's world
Yeah,
building.
yeah.
I think honestly, if I'm gonna like throw an idea out there, I think they meant that to be something and literally forgot.
You're probably right.
Like,
What if
because
they were? Sorry, good.
it looks like it would be like blocking poison coming out of there, and then it just does because if you remember, there is literally something later in the game where you do exactly that.
It looks like a Link to the Past dungeon entrance.
It kind of
Yes.
does.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the puzzles in the game?
I liked them.
They're fun. Whatever.
I like
Yeah,
them.
okay.
too.
Yeah,
I like them
it
quite a
was
bit,
weird
actually.
that the game introduces like this is a red block. It can be used as a fuse for a blue block, and I was like, ooh, puzzles. And then it
Yeah.
literally doesn't happen for about 50% of the game, and then it
Mhm.
does. And I was like, wait, what? Oh yeah,
they
that
had
thing you
water block
mentioned
puzzle one time. That
4
was
hours
neat.
ago.
The one where you like make the trail with the block.
Mhm.
And that I was like, okay, that was actually fucking sick. I
Yeah,
thought
there's-
that was
there's, like,
super cool.
Moments in this where the ideas and execution come together, but I feel like a lot of this game really struggles with its tutorialization, both in how it does it, but it's also like super inconsistent. Like Danny talking about that example just a minute ago, where it's like, oh, here's how you do this like fuse system with these blocks, but then you don't have to do it for hours. I forget what it was, but I had something similar happen. It wasn't with those, but it was like a mechanic that you don't have to use that was taught to me earlier. And by earlier, I mean like earlier in the game, but also like the week prior, because I was only playing on the weekends. So like I got to this mechanic and had no idea what to do for like 10 minutes. And then I was like, oh yeah, I got to do that thing.
Or
And-
how about like, oh, it's time to finally use the dinosaur for the second time in the game. Like, oh no, dinosaur can't travel on this.
Don't bully
Right.
Donnie the dinosaur.
Yeah, the dinosaur, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. That's another example of it being stupid. Like, when you want to go and get, like, the shoes in that village, and you're like, oh, I'll just ride the dinosaur across. It's like, no, you can't go across that water.
Well, the
Like,
best
why?
part is like you just
Dumbledore.
ride the dinosaur slowly around the edge. And I'm like, well, stupid dinosaur. I did dinosaur be damned. I really did like the armadillo's execution because I thought that was a really cool idea.
Yeah, that's
I like
One of the
Armadillo
best
too.
animals. It's so simple though, you know.
Remind me of the raft from Zelda 1.
Yeah, honestly, the armadillo was an example of, like, a really cool idea that made me mad that they didn't, like, push more of, like, the combination system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if
Mhm.
you mix the armadillo with the butterfly, you should be able to, like, move
Floating
it
platform.
in the air when you throw it or whatever. You know what I mean?
Just a little
Which
rolled
would have
up
helped
armadillo with
occasionally.
butterfly wings floating around. That'd be
Dude,
sick.
you know what I mean, though?
Like that
Like,
Smashing Pumpkins
could have
song.
been so much cooler.
My thing with the combinations is there were a lot of really cool, unique one-offs, but you didn't really get to experience those till halfway, 2/3 through the game.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was.
then
Yeah.
You
gonna
had
say.
the Omega combinations by then.
I was expecting something like Enter the Gungeon. You know how like two items will synergize and like it'll be like cool and in a way that kind of makes sense, but it's kind of wacky. But it didn't really pan out in my opinion.
Yeah,
Do
it was
you
very
think-
straightforward.
Do you guys think
To
the,
me-
the game would have been better if you had gotten like the utility animal buddies within the first half of first 25% of the game, like all the Dippy and the armadillo and the butterfly and all that? I feel like it would have really opened up the game's puzzles and made the levels more interesting instead of just walk across the screen.
I
and
think
it
so,
smack
could
like-
have
something
been
your way.
shifted more forward. Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
really
to
liked
some
the
extent.
final dungeon because you had to use them all, and it was
Yeah,
like,
Yeah,
the
"Dang,
final
this is
dungeon was like,
cool."
here you go, proof of concept.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, where was this in like the ice dungeon where I just used my sword and the
Had-
fire
When
had
guy?
to
the game
get to the
finally came
end, yeah.
together.
It seems like this game, they had a bunch of people who had a bunch of good ideas, but they didn't have the right people to organize these ideas and prioritize things.
I
and
think
make it
so
all come
too.
together. That's what it feels like.
Because, for instance, I like the sprite art a lot, but I don't like the art direction. And I could apply that to a lot of different categories of the game. Kind of back to I love the ideas, I don't like the execution too much.
Mm.
I like
Can you-
when Danny went in the fireplace just now. You could just see his
Nah,
eyes.
it's always good.
That mechanic, does that mechanic ever get used except to hide from like a spike
One time.
one time? Dude,
Did you guys? Oh, sorry. I was gonna
No,
ask.
no, no,
Did
that-
you guys go back into that room with the cheetah in your party?
Uh-huh.
yes.
Sad.
That was a
That
cool
shit
little
was
moment of like
hilarious.
back to what Danny was talking about, like way when he was doing his intro, or like there are moments of the game where like this is good question mark, and then you go keep playing 5 minutes and you're like this sucks, boo. You know,
So like
that
Dark
was
Souls 2.
no, you're wrong.
Yes,
Bring that up
exactly.
right now. That was honestly
Exactly.
unprofessional of you, but we'll just move on.
That was
Exactly,
anyway. So
Chris.
that cheetah thing was like that was one of the moments of okay, I like this game for now. And then I had a few others like toward the middle, latter half of the game, which I think was stronger in general. Like
That
fighting
cheetah
fighting
hustled me,
Leviathan.
dude.
Oh my god. Wait, so I
I
actually
did like 4 laps, but yeah, anyway, go on.
like I learned later that you can pay him to go slow.
I wish I didn't. Is he like
Wait,
crazy buff?
How do
I
you do
don't
it
know.
without?
It's
Hey,
pretty
man.
hard.
I tried it like 10 times. I swear to
Dude,
God.
that cheetah race was fun, dude. I didn't know you
liked
could pay him either.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
feel
took
like I
me
cheated
5
myself by
tries.
paying him.
It took
Yeah,
me
I thought
about
you
5
were,
tries.
It took
Danny,
me
I
a lot
thought
of
you were-
tries.
I thought you were good at the RC kart game in Odyssey, dude. What are you
Dude, the
talking about that?
controls for the cheetah race are actually surprisingly like precise and good.
They kind of
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, it feels good, yeah.
They could have made a whole racing game with those controls. It would have been good.
I like that whole section. I like the section with the slime too. That shit was like honestly hilarious. How you became like the hunted monster.
Right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
that
that
was
too.
pretty cool. Yeah,
Well, that
Yeah.
was very much so a like a oh shoot, not premonition. What's the word I'm looking for? Colin, save me. Like, that was a this is
foreshadowing
of
or-
thing. Yeah, foreshadowing of things to come.
Yeah, I think so. Like it foreshadowed like the whole
Mhm.
theme of the story.
right?
You know what I mean?
I
Which
had no idea what it's about.
totally slipped past me until the end of the game because I had no idea what the fuck the game was about. Like I knew what was happening. I was talking to people, but the overall
Turns out
like
humans were the monster the whole
so
time.
it
I
has this
realized.
idea theme, right, of like dark and light and humans and monsters and what does human existence do to monster existence and how do they coexist or not, and like what do human actions what are the ramifications thereof for monsters. And there's some stuff in the game about that, but I think it's like really the main message that the game is trying to say, but it's so underserved in the way they present it and the way it's written.
And the way it's translated, I think, is
It's
what really gets
so
me.
yeah. That's what I mean by written. Like it's so weak. You have to like really look for it. But if you're already sort of like over the game, like Holden and I sound like we were, and you're just like kind of
I
just like
loved it.
skipping the dialogue because like you can't understand half of it, and you don't care about the rest that you can because you think it doesn't make any sense anyway. You're not gonna really pick up on it. So anyway,
It's weird. Like I feel like it happened in gameplay and story where I feel like there was somebody like leading this project who totally fucking ruined it. Like there, because like we were saying with the gameplay, like there could have been much more rather than like all at once, like the combinations like could have been used. And the story, it feels like the game has a point, like almost 50%, where it says, okay, now we're doing the video game. Like now
Yeah.
you're gonna have a lot of animals, and now the plot kicks in, which I think really fucked it up. Like, because the plot goes from like, oh, you're wandering around, you're a little like dude on your like your quest, and it doesn't like drop hints or like lead you to believe. It just at a certain point it goes humans bad, maybe monsters not evil, and then it gets a little muddled with monsters and animals kind of being the same, but then monsters are different than animals. But in the beginning of the game, you're trying to get the animals to trust you like they are the monsters. Like, it's really confusing. Like, the whole game is just pretty muddled. Like, and maybe the translation didn't help, but no amount of translation would, because like obviously you can't talk to animals, and then you see the side of the animals and start to be friends with them and work together, but then you're killing the monster. So it's like the animals are a third party, or like a neutral party, and you get them to lean on the side of humans. It's just really weird.
And it's really sad because I feel like it could have been very cool, you know?
Mhm.
Like it's not like uncommon, but it's not like the most common trope in these games is like, damn, monsters are getting fucked up by these dick ass humans, you know? That I just feel like it really missed its shot, unfortunately.
And then it leans in way too hard, like that church scene with the monsters. I was
dude.
like, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
That was cool. I
missed
was like,
that?
okay.
I never saw that.
It's very ham-fisted, but it got the point
very.
home.
Oh, absolutely. It serves its purpose.
Where it
It
literally
gets dark
says like
super quick.
Dude, I was
Humans
so
are the real
1,000 years
monsters.
stare checked out at that point, watching the
They
monsters
murdered
die to the
small children.
churchgoers.
The little monsters escaped from prison, and then we're like, "Don't hurt us. We just want to be friends. You guys are persecuting us.
The
We
humans
locked
are
us
like,
up
they
for no
didn't
reason."
fight back. That was weird. That was
Yeah,
really
dude.
easy. Like, humans are pure evil.
Did you
Never
talk to them
considered
after they
this.
died?
Yeah, only one talks, and he's like,
Yeah.
well, I guess it could have been different, but humans are bitches. I was like,
And then you
well,
talk to their body, and it's like something like
He's
more
already
than just
dead.
like he's dead. It's like maybe he was moving, but now he's dead.
Yeah.
There were a few times like that, like the body
Apparently
has gone
it's dead.
cold, and you're like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
dude."
Yeah, like that prison area, like in the tower, not in the Tower of Babel, but in like the desert.
Oh, yeah, the
place.
desert tower.
There's like the girl that you were trying to save is just fucking dead. Like, oh
Yeah.
shit.
I feel like that's it's a little more jarring because you don't see that in Nintendo games. They would censor it too hard. So
Yeah.
that they would actually say
She's
death and stuff.
sleeping.
It's like Sega's so edgy.
So edgy.
They were.
That's funny, Danny. You didn't try to sword throw down that cliff.
It should have worked according to the rules of the game.
Well, it does work.
Oh shit.
He could do that, but why would you think that? He could go up and down the mountain 3 more times.
You know, this game, it's actually 2D, right? It just appears 3D.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it was a
but
way
that's
to
just part of the
consistently do that and Link to
I'm
the
just
Past in
kidding.
this example.
Just kidding.
Yeah, man. You know, I really like the music though.
Yeah, music
Mhm.
was great.
Like.
I wish I
pretty
could have
much
heard it on a
all
Super
of it.
Nintendo.
So I loved the music, but I feel like the sound channel problem that happens with old games was especially bad in this. And I don't know how much of that is specific to the Genesis, because I know it happens in the SNES too, or the NES also. But like if you just listen to the it's not like the Leviathan boss theme, but that's what I think of because maybe it was the first time I really remember hearing it. It's like, this song is awesome, but when you start like actually swinging the sword, it overrides like half the song, and it's like, damn, everybody shut up! I'm listening to this banger, you know.
Yeah.
I think.
That's a common problem with older games.
Yeah.
It just felt like really egregious in this game. But maybe I'm just not used to
Mm,
Genesis.
no,
Except
no,
the
I
sword being
definitely-
charged the whole time.
Oh god.
Yeah,
But I just remember hearing, I think it was like what is it, water lily? Or like the water. Okay, that level fucking sucked. The wind and jumping and like that shit was putting me on tilt. But I did
liked
like
it.
the music.
Oh, I
and
like that.
the entire time I was thinking, man, I would love to hear this on the Super Nintendo because this sounds like Genesis farts. Like, because it sounded good. Also, Genesis farts be damned. I do like some Genesis music. Alien Soldier, definitely a standout. The Mother Monster boss music goes hard.
The
and it
area too, you
leans-
can hear the heartbeat.
It leans into the Genesis fart, like which I think that's when Genesis is at its best. Like when it leans into that fucking reverb, like which shoot, what's that mech game on the Genesis that I'm blanking on? The
Armored Core 6.
Body
Armored
Yes.
Con.
Yeah, front mission.
but like Sonic leans into the Genesis sound, and oh my god, it's not Robo Tech or Mech Trooper. Oh my god, I'm blanking on it so bad.
Steven Seagal is the final solution.
Yeah, look forward to that episode. But yeah, I was very 50-50. Like this entire game, like sometimes the music sounded good, sometimes I hated hearing everything.
I quite enjoyed the music. I am generally a fan of Genesis music, but this actually, the synth sounds reminded me more of almost like DOS games of the era, which I haven't played. Like I'm not super familiar with the entire Genesis library or anything, but I haven't played a Genesis game that sounds quite like it, so I thought it was pleasant.
I love the town theme and world map.
Yeah, very
I
good.
love the town theme.
I think the music is easily my favorite aspect of the game.
I think so too.
Honestly, out of all the games we played, those, for some reason, the songs from this game are more reminiscent in my head than most of them.
They just stay in there.
Yeah,
need
like
to
most of
leave.
the time I get to book club and I'm like, what'd that song sound like? Not for this game. I beat it like 2 weeks ago. So, I don't know. I thought it was
I can't really remember much of the music, but I do remember enjoying it while I was listening to it. It was fine. It did its job.
Yeah, it's kind of where I stand. I'm trying to, in my head, I can't think of a single theme, but I
Me
know
either.
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
Mario
Yeah,
1.
I did have a
dude.
shredder.
That's
Yeah,
Bowser.
Darth
Mario
knows,
1.
man.
I was a fan.
That was probably the most like acutely. I'm leaning forward and I'm gaming. I'm enjoying this game. Fighting Leviathan with that song playing. I was like, hey, that's my mom, dude.
you,
Back off.
you don't come at my mom like
I
that.
forgot about that part. And then Leviathan's like, your mom was an illusion this whole time.
Damn, Leviathan made a mom joke. I wish I could have seen that part.
He does. No,
Mom.
he literally summons your mom to try to kill her, and you have to fight him.
But then it's like not really her, and he's like,
It was a
Dan,
test.
you were prioritizing defending her over hurting me. That means you're a good man, so I'm gonna join you. And then he's like this small little lizard man.
Making
love
the
this.
hum
Oh, man,
face in the fucking menu.
Oh, man. After playing this game, I really want to see another game that like does a system like this and does
See,
it.
I took a note down the cat, the one that revives you if you die. He looks like the he bites emote.
A lot of the fucking animals
the
look like the
squirrel's
emotes.
so good.
There's the tantrum squirrel. There's the
Yes.
I could not think of just like how many looked like it.
Yeah, dude.
Also, the cheetah's name is hyphenated. It's Cheetah.
It is. I noticed that too.
Damn.
Did you notice that Leviathan is spelled wrong in the animal buddy system? Like
Lots
menu?
of typos, actually.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
I saw this game has the most egregious UR fuck up, because I'll type it out. It has YOUR apostrophe RE. I'm like, damn, they just fucking threw everything at it.
Your-
Oh.
They're like all get half marks either way.
Did you ever find that apple right there?
Yeah.
I never farmed up 800 coins to make out with
It
a
was
mermaid.
Oh, I never did the mermaid either.
Oh, like the apple, like in the first
In
area
the
of
town. Yeah. It's like on the bottom in the water.
So I didn't actually notice that until the very end of the game, when you don't even have a sword to try and get it.
You don't need the sword.
Well, how do you get it?
There's there's a bunch of flowers like in a big field, and they're all spinning in one direction, and there's one flower that's spinning in the opposite direction. You jump on it.
There's an NPC that tells you that actually.
It's the cow, I believe. He
Yeah.
says, "Oh, he has a weird flower, the wise man," and I'm like, "The wise man? You mean like the priest?"
No,
Yeah, that
the
was
wise man.
another like translation. I was like, what? Who's the wise man here?
Yeah, I know, right? But I was just assumed the wise man was. That's like probably like
Yeah. Yeah.
Japanese translation, like elder or something.
I did like in the top of the Tower of Babel, like you fuck around and talk to that one NPC that's all the way the fuck out of the way, and he's like, flowers like to dance if you step on them. Maybe if all the flowers were dancing. I was like, I swear to God, if I step on all this shit, and he's like, good job, like doesn't do anything, I was gonna be pissed. But then it's like, here's the HP, and I was like, nice.
I had to go back to the patch like 3 times. Okay, was the guy up there playing the guitar John Lennon? Was that? Was that?
Yeah. What?
Yeah, the guy who's like saying if he's gonna sing songs about peace and nobody will call him a geek. I thought that would have been John Lennon.
Yeah, I guess I could kind of see. In the moment, it was funny. In the moment,
Oh,
I was
shit,
like, "What are
it
you
might
talking
be-
about?"
yeah.
And then I thought about it for a second, and I was like, "Wait a minute."
I don't remember that guy.
I put it in the
there's a-
Discord.
Son.
There's a screenshot. Colin sent it today. Look, the guy with the glasses. Like
I
the John
think you're
Lennon
onto
glasses.
something.
Yeah,
I
that,
think he
thing,
is.
yeah.
I was dying when I saw that part. I wanted to so bad to talk to someone and be like, guys. I looked it up. I was like, John Lennon, Crusader of Centy, and there was nothing. I was like, no.
This is breaking
Yeah.
the news here.
That guy
So-
does look like John Lennon.
Some of the little dialogue
Or
just
Jerry
the
Garcia.
NPC dialogues are pretty funny.
I think
Yeah.
so too. I would thought it was like pretty funny.
My personal favorite was after you get the holy sword, you leave when you go right out. and
I hate
talk
you.
to
I
the
hate you.
guy.
I hate you. I
Yeah,
hate
Yeah.
I
you.
hate you. I hate you.
Was that a requirement, by the way?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
The holy sword, I think so, because there's a point where to enter one of the places in the past, he says that's a nice sword you have, you can go through
Hmm.
or
Oh,
something.
interesting. Yeah.
I think it's when you're I can't remember the exact spot, but yes,
I got
I'm
those
pretty sure.
medallions so much earlier than when I had the ability to speak again.
Yeah, me too.
Damn.
Did you notice at the end of the game that your like rival, the Gary to your Ash, is in jail?
It's locked up.
Yes.
Yes.
I love
What was that guy's deal?
He's
I
a-
don't know.
he's
I
a
hated the
dumb
way he
baby.
looked. Everything about him.
Well, then I guess he did his job. I think he was just meant to be some dickhead human who killed everything.
He chases you around when you're a slime.
Yes,
He
dude,
does.
that part was sick. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Here he goes.
Then he just gets stuck on a corner.
Yeah, I was
and
about to
like,
say, and then he gets stuck, and then the tension is ruined. You're like, oh wait.
Yeah, and you're like, oh,
Well,
it's lame.
That was another example of me not knowing exactly how to progress, so I thought I had to like lure him somewhere, and I was trying to get him to like path correctly, and he kept getting stuck on stupid things, and I was ranting or raving it to myself about the thing that didn't matter because I just didn't understand what I had to do.
I wish the coins had more weight in this game because they were kind of
Yeah.
stupid and useless.
Is the gold or the apple here, the heart piece, the only thing you can spend money on in the entire game,
The only thing I could think of.
other than the
You-
cat?
And the bat and the egg.
Which I never used.
Yeah, I bought the
I
egg
do have
once
the
and never used it.
animals.
I just realized.
Yeah, I just wanted it for collection's sake.
There should have been like a cave that needed to be exploded, and then you could get like.
If only we
apple.
had an egg, we could explode this cave.
Yeah.
I used it accidentally, or I used it to see what it would do, and it just exploded, and it didn't even damage anything because it was like the boss was not vulnerable at the time.
You know,
It's a really funny image. Chris like, I wonder if this does it. Explode.
That cost
Only
100
thing-
coins.
The only thing I was thinking while I was playing this game, I was like, it would be really cool if you could use coins to level up your animals, and I was really sad that never existed.
Well, it's funny you mentioned leveling up and how we've been talking about Illusion of Gaia, and then Colin and Chris talking about just running past stuff. One big beef I had with this game, it was like the combat wasn't particularly fun, obviously, but there was also kind of no point to it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I was like, well, in Illusion of Gaia, at least like fighting everything, like you
Yes.
leveled up, like the combat was a little bit more involved, and like when you compare this to Illusion of Gaia, it's like, why would I bother like
Yeah.
enjoying fighting anything?
And they just
Should've, like, leveled
respawn
up your
too.
animals to fight the
Mhm.
enemies or something like that.
Like, I'm glad you brought up the comparison of like in Illusion of Gaia, you clear the enemies, you get a reward, and often it's very good, like attack, health, defense,
Mhm.
whatever you want it. It helps you throughout the game. But in this, you kill them, it doesn't matter. You get like a coin or you lose health because you got hit, and then they just respawn.
Yeah, I think somewhere in the middle where you don't have to kill every single enemy on the screen and where you
Yeah.
get some sort of bonus is like where I would like it. But I feel like these
Combat
are two
was just
sides of the
pain, yeah.
extremes that we're
How
talking.
dare you?
here. I'm just saying, like, if I had to every time I went through an area in this game kill every single enemy, I would have hated the game much more.
What if it made you jacked when you did
If it made my animals gain special powers, I would have thought it was sick.
Kill
Okay.
all these dudes, and your dog can fly.
You can fly. I'd be
forever.
like, hell yeah, dude.
The
Flying
problem
He
dog.
kind of
though
already
is
does.
the game's already
I know.
too easy and like too much of a pushover.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, they could have, balanced it, but they could have made it good too, right?
Yeah.
They didn't do that.
It's just poor execution at the end of the day.
To me, I don't know. Like, it's just so forgettable. Like,
Yes.
you guys keep mentioning these parts, and I'm like, I don't remember that. And then I'm like, oh wait, never mind, I do remember that. I can't tell you anything about the story other than like I talked to a lady in the church, and she was like, "Do we have to kill others to live peacefully?" And I was like, "Oh, that's deep for a Sega game," and that's it. That's all
That's,
I
I mean,
remember.
that's the whole like
Yeah,
narrative
it's-
point of the game.
Yeah,
That's it.
but it literally goes from like that hint to nothing to full throttle, like 70% of the game. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
whoa.
this illusion of Gaia had this woman's been making this rug for 40 years.
Make you
That was
make you
good
feel
payoff, I will
existential
say.
pain.
That was the best part of the whole game.
Yeah, that game, like, it layered it on. This game just dumped it on you. It was like, oh,
You guys
by
are
the way.
making me like Illusion of Gaia more.
Well,
actually.
It's so good, dude.
It was not only like layering it, but it's also consistent. Every
Yes,
town has
consistent.
like a. I think we're saying the same thing. Like you encounter the same ideas that reinforce the overall like tone of the game throughout the game as you're playing
Right.
it, which makes
And
you then
it-
want to talk to the NPCs even if the translation is bad. You
It
kind
just
of
feels
get it.
paced well, also. Like,
Yeah.
as you're traveling in Illusion of Gaia, you see a bunch of fucked up shit, and you're just like, wow, I guess that's life. I'm just gonna keep moving on. In this game, it's like, oh, I have a bowl in my head, and my sword sucks.
Basically.
But
And
then
my dog
70%
can
through the
float.
game,
2 feet off the ground. Yeah, but then at like one point in a game that I never got to, yeah, apparently just it's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a story.
oh, it totally like jumps the shark. Well, and the weirdest part is at the top of the Tower of Babel. Obviously, Tower of Babel, it's gonna be some heavy shit, but it's just like you get a dialogue box from like what is his name, Malda or Maldra, and he's like, "You won't be the one to open the gate, I will." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Wait, what gate? Who are you?" And then there's just a giant dragon. I'm like, "What is happening?"
That's
and then
I like that part.
That was the
that's when
only
the
part of
game
that was
leans
good.
into like, okay, now you can travel through time to change the corrupted evil humans. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
If I could just be a devil's advocate for a second, like I've never done that before, but like it's sometimes kind of cool in stories. Like obviously I think it should have had like hints, but where like, you're doing stuff and you feel like you're doing like the right thing, and then like sort of like, the rug gets pulled out from under you and you kind of have to process everything that you've done in like a different lens. I don't think this game does that excellently. But I also won't say that not having the whole game sort of like geared towards this theme that's coming up isn't necessarily like a terrible narrative device. It's
Sure.
not super well executed, but it's not like a garbage device to use.
Oh no, I completely
Yeah,
agree with you.
Yeah, Sam.
But if in that case they could have maybe said like,
Yeah,
oh,
they should have
fuck these
alluded to it a bit more.
monsters.
And if they did,
But-
I think that the narrative would be very, very, very good. But
Right.
it stands
Like
at
the
it's just
the
okay.
slime sequence is an instance where they tap into it without explicitly saying anything. You could have had
Right.
more moments like that.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I will just say the part where he changes history and then you go back to his house and his dad is still alive was pretty cool. I was
Mhm.
like, damn, that actually made me feel good. I was like, that actually made me, I wasn't like, it's so sweet, but I was like, that actually made
You're
me
like, "Oh,
feel
okay,
like
yeah."
something. That actually made me feel something. Like just a little
Yeah.
bit.
It's funny
I
you
was like,
say
"Oh."
that because the same thing happened to me, and then the game shat all over it immediately after. So like, there's the moment where like you read the sign, like in the beginning of the game, it's like pick up your sword, hero, like do whatever. and it's just like, yeah, whatever, fountain text. But then you're in the past, in like the main city, Soleil or whatever, and then the guy's like, I'm gonna commission the statue after you, hero. And then like that night is you. And then I was like, oh my god, like they made that statue because you did this horrible, violent, like killing of all the monsters. And I was like, damn, so that heroic statue isn't so heroic. And then literally as I'm like processing this, you read the sign, and then the game's like, suddenly main character realized what it meant to pick up the sword. And I'm like, well, shut up. Like, don't tell me that. Like, obviously I just, like, it was just poor timing. Like, maybe it's not the game's fault, but I had that realization, and then it shoved it into my face. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like maybe if it was better translated, that would have been a bit more like less on the nose. You know what I mean?
But then it also walked it back after you beat the game and like you fix like the violent humans, because it changes it from a warrior to like the goddess of love. I'm like, okay, all right. And then it's not like, hey, now it's a goddess. You did the right thing. Like, because if it had done that, I'm like, fuck, you got me again.
Statue of John
Everything
Lennon.
is okay.
Yeah,
Dude, that was John Lennon though, right? Like for sure.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Sure.
Speaking of cameo celebrities, what?
Why was Sonic on the beach?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Well,
what did he
why
Don't
say?
mess
What
with
did he
him.
say?
Big chillin'.
He's a high-profile hedgehog or something like that.
Hey, mix up my D-pad.
I like how they just took a sprite of him and just plopped it in the game and didn't animate it. It's like out of proportion and everything.
he's
like he's all
huge.
fucking huge.
I bet Sega told them to.
Yeah,
Make him huge.
Yeah, you can only
Give
have
him a
Sonic.
bulge.
Yeah.
Make him bully you.
He's got pecs.
Yeah, he like kind of low-key threatens you. I'm like, wait, what is he gonna do to me? Like,
He's a beach bully, dude.
He's
gonna
bull on
shove
your
you
head,
down.
loser.
Speaking
He's
of
gonna
ball in the
kick
head,
over your sandcastle.
when they build the statue after Jimothy over here, they don't give him the bowl on his head.
no, they're like, this guy looks dumb. Give him a
We
glow
gotta
up.
get rid of that
Yeah,
thing.
edit it post.
I like the bowl.
He just makes him look like a Friedan from Illusion of Gaia.
Oh, free Donnie.
Yeah.
Bobby O'Hare.
Now that's a hero.
Dude,
That's
being
my
on
goat.
the beach reminds me of a really weird moment. Like Chris was saying, like Nintendo definitely would shy away from like people being dead and like they're asleep. I found it really weird that there was some heavy shit, and then like the monkey, like chieftain of the village in the past, he can't get the people to fight with him, so he goes and I thought died to Baron. And it's like, it was going to be this heavy moment of like, because the people didn't listen to him, he died for the cause. And then you go and like finish what he started. But then you go back to the village, and instead of this like super heavy moment, he jumps back up and he's like, oh, thanks guys. I knew you had it in you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, where's the rest of the game? Like, why is he not dead on the ground? And somebody
Yeah, I
like
know, right?
learns from the lesson.
Totally.
You should have just
Would have been
killed
good.
him. He
It's just-
should be dead.
yeah, he should have been dead.
You should get the option to kill him.
Yeah.
Dark
No.
side playthrough.
Just
You
choke
weren't
him
gonna
out.
move us on, Danny, were you? Sounded like you might be
Oh
moving
no,
topic.
no. There's a lot to unpack in this glorious game.
Well, I just had one or two few things
Mm-hmm.
that I was afraid I wasn't going to get mentions. I wrote them down. So, Holden, you were talking, I think you made a comment earlier about the fortune teller and losing/gaining the ability to speak to humans/animals.
Yeah, I thought the second time I want to say the flower by the giant hole said it was. I thought it was hinting at getting the language back. I don't remember.
Like from
man.
the fortune teller.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got really annoyed.
Kept
like
trying
I
to jump down
mentioned.
the hole and dying.
Me too. Thank you. God.
Yeah,
Someone else suffers like me.
I did
But
that
so
too.
I was so like, because I kept getting lost, right? And I was like, I want to just talk to the townspeople so that I can have them tell me, oh, here's the thing here's the breadcrumb. So I kept like wanting to talk to the people again. And I was like, oh, well, if the fortune teller took it away, at least I think that's what happened. I should be able to talk to the fortune teller and get it back. So I spent like probably like an hour collectively, like wandering back and forth, looking for the fortune teller, going back to his like circus tent or whatever, hoping he would be there again. And then like, do you ever even see that guy again? The
No,
flower
so-
mentioned, yeah, the flower mentions that
So I
he's
think
in the hole or
fortune
whatever. But
Teller is literally like MacGuffin. Like I think it was a mysterious force like to
I thought it was
influence
the god.
your journey. Yeah.
Like because they say when you get to the top or after you kill the dragon that they're like, I took away your voice and now I'll friggin' show you why humans are evil, and they send you back in time. They're like a avatar. Or
Yeah,
something.
maybe. Yeah, I feel like I get the point, and I can see that, and maybe I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but the project needs to be overall more comprehensible in terms of like understanding what the hell it's trying to say, literally, for me to even try to make those connections. You know?
Yeah.
That's fair enough. It made sense to me whenever I played it, but I beat the game over like 2 days or like 3 days. So
That
it
probably
was,
would
like,
have
I
helped.
kept taking big
Very
breaks.
nice.
Yeah,
me too.
I did 3 days back to back.
You just turn it on, hold it, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I
yeah.
doing?
Why is this guy's hat so fucking stupid? Why am I playing this?
Isn't that so funny? Like, it just goes to show how like variable people's experiences are, just even based on like how, like, you know, like the time in which they play it and like the time frame that they play it in. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
It's funny.
It's-
Especially
it's
old
like-
games like this.
One of the hard things about book club, right? Because you don't want to play it too close, so you feel rushed, but you don't want to forget things. You don't want to play it like right at the beginning of the cycle either, if you're like me, because then you'll forget. Hey, what's up, Sonic?
Oh.
I'm dancing on him.
Yeah. So the other point I wanted to
Mess.
make
Leave
is
to
that
us on there.
I think the tutorializing in this game is generally really bad.
Very.
And one, I mean, there's a few times where I think it works pretty well. I don't have an example. I just remember thinking that. There were the one example I have of it being like really, really, really bad, and it's probably an example of the mechanics not serving any tutorializing that they might have been able to do. But it's in like the above the Tower of Babel, like you're in the sky doing the sky puzzle, and there's this like conveyor belt thing where you have to run with the cheetah and jump at the end.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it
Jump,
literally
jump.
tells you to. I paused the game and wrote in my notes Mario Maker looking ass because like they just
Jump.
like wrote. Oh yeah, they just wrote on the thing, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I'll
you
definitely
couldn't.
see that traveling at Mach 3, dude.
Like you could. Well, it's fine to say it, but like that's not. That's what you do in Mario Maker when you are an amateur, and your tools don't allow you, because it's a very basic confined system. They don't allow you to tutorialize in the customized ways you'd like to. But in this, like they could have done anything. They could have done other slower conveyor belts where you have to jump at the end. You're like, oh, I got to jump at the end of this. You know, when you get to that fast one. It's just an example of like thoughtless implementation in a lot of puzzles. Puzzle or whatever.
Guarantee you, people got stuck and they're like, just write jump in there, they'll fix it.
Well, I found
just rolled my
the
eyes,
jump
dude.
really jarring though, because if you get to the end of it and don't jump, it starts you back on like the last standable platform. So you'd probably put 1 and 2 together to jump. Like, I don't know.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
found
thought
that
so,
really
too.
weird too. I'm like, wait, did that just say jump?
Yeah. 3
This
times.
game's way ahead of its time, dude. It's the old
Yeah,
game.
you're
I
right.
actually got stuck there even though it did say jump. So
So
Was that
Darth
'cause
is
of
part
the
of the
timing?
problem.
I'm part of the problem. I don't read. Apparently, the only thing I didn't read was the direct fucking directions that they gave me. What'd you
Well,
say?
even though it says jump, like if you do it at the wrong time, you won't nail it. Like it's kind of specific, so I could see getting stuck there a little bit, maybe.
I did. For like 15 minutes, I was like going around the whole dungeon. I was like,
Oh, that's
wow.
inexcusable. Okay.
I mean, that should happen to me in
Did,
Illusion of Gaia for about an hour.
Inexcusable.
Every dungeon.
did anybody find out what to do with the fucking penance rock and the reflection rock?
Oh, what do you mean
No.
what to do?
I like the other one. I went up to it and like it looks like your character kind of like bows in front of it. I'm like, okay, so
Yeah.
that's the penance rock, and then the reflection rock. I'm like, do I just stare at it? Like, what?
I thought that was just humor that was
Take it
going
out.
over
It
my
was-
head.
It was humor. I thought it was funny because they're basically saying that from these angles, this animation looks like you're prostrating in one and that you're like praying in the other. You know what
Oh.
I mean? That was the joke, I think. I thought it
Well,
was-
That makes sense.
consider me part of the joke because I got joked on.
Yeah, I got
That's
joked
like a
on.
joke they would put in the New Yorker, dude. It's like,
yeah, it wasn't like
It was
wasn't
cutting.
Like, too crazy, but I thought it was pretty funny.
It wasn't ha funny.
Don't look at the
Actually,
gameplay. I don't spend
I
about
laughed
10
out
minutes
loud.
here right now. Stop looking.
I
What
like.
is this? What are you doing?
I don't know. I didn't even know
He's
what I
waiting
was
for the
doing.
secret to unlock.
Hey, look, he's like praying in that one, and then he's like, you know.
One thing about this game, like I don't know, this game, like it didn't really offend me badly or like make me go whoa, but like the little things, like the way the dog like floats and runs in the middle of the air, I just
Oh,
thought
yeah.
that was so great, dude.
I
Look
can't
at
And
it.
he'll
believe
spin in a
you
circle.
stand it.
Look at
I
him.
don't. I can't believe you didn't like. I loved that.
I
was
couldn't
like,
stand these animals
him go.
rotating in 45
Dude,
degrees
you
around
guys
you the
ever
entire
see
game.
that like clip from Ratatouille where he like eats the food and he like flashes back to his childhood? It's like that, and I ate that part of the game, and it reminded me of like Pokemon Soul Silver, where the Pokemon like follows you behind you. I was like, oh,
I just like the fact that the dog doesn't run like a regular dog; it just mysteriously floats behind you. It's so great.
I never
Yep.
actually figured out what the dog does. Like, it's really like I noticed it in like the gameplay footage that I recorded. That when I pause, it says like press to hold enemy, and I sit there for a second, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what is this
So-
telling me?
I
he's
think if you
basically like, oh sorry, Colin, you go.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I had a very hard time using him, but if you press like the special or whatever, the thing that activates your guys, he just stops in place, and he basically acts like a wall that enemies can't
Yeah.
move through.
Yep.
They just get stuck.
Yep.
Okay.
But in order to really use that offensively, you have to like turn around and then
It's
press A.
bad. I
And
never
then
used
turn
him
around again. Yeah,
successfully.
he sucks. I
Awful.
feel like there's a miss because Mac talks. Thinking of things that maybe this game could have done to make it a little bit more like have more character or like smooth out the player interaction. I was partly wondering if anybody's familiar with Minish Kappa, you have Laszlo sort of as like an externalized
Yes.
thought for Link, and it also kind of like player can read it and kind of get a you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe Mac could have done that.
Said more.
Yeah, or
Mhm.
been like, because an example of this is like when you go back in time. I guess I'm a dummy. I did not know I was back in time until like maybe the second time we did a thing, going back in time and like changing the future with the present. If he had like the first time you go back in time, if Mac had popped out, been like, "Damn, we went back in time," like that would have been cool or something. It's
Yeah,
just
I agree. That would have
not
been
quite
really
on the
good.
nose, but like it could have helped like we talked about the sort of like shitty tutorializing, shitty translation. I mean, that wouldn't necessarily help, but you know what I mean. It could have been cool.
I will say, I think you must have either like skipped past it or something, but you talked to the grandma before that, and she literally says, "I went in a
When
vortex.
I was
and I
younger."
went back in time."
Yeah.
And then you
So
meet her, and she's like, saw a vortex." Like it's
Yeah, I'll own that. I probably I did talk to her. I read what she said. I probably just skipped over her saying about going back in time. I got that it was a vortex. I did this in a DM with Danny earlier. He said a thing, and I just looked right past like a part of the sentence and asked him what the sentence was about, and he was like, "Bruh," and I'm like, I don't know, dude.
I think you have a really good point though. Having Mac be around, or even just like how you're like at a part of the story, and then they like give you some advice what to do next or
Mhm.
something like
Yeah,
that. I think that
something.
would have been fantastic. Like absolutely.
Or like color text, or you walk into
Yeah.
area with enemies and Mac's like, "Fuck him up, bullhead."
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be sick.
Not to defend Mac not talking about time travel, but I also think your dog being like, "Hey man, I can't believe we just time traveled," is also kind of wild. Like, he is your dog.
There should have been
I
like
don't think
a
Leo's
wise
gonna tell me
animal.
if I time travel.
It
but
would've
he
been like
also-
there's
You can't
like a
talk to
turtle or
Leo though,
something.
dude.
That's
You
true.
can't talk to Leo though, so
Leo, would you tell me about time travel?
Yeah. He also says "bow
He
wow
would.
wow yippee yo yippee yay,"
He
dude.
does. He
Which
does.
is a reference to Atomic Dog and
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg's song.
Like clearly, they're not limited to like, oh, this is a dog. He's gonna
Yeah.
do dog things,
But
Yeah.
no, I completely agree that he could have been like your side character, like your color commentary. That would have been a good use for him.
Once again, the animals being super underutilized. Probably like the biggest shortcoming of the whole game.
I agree. Yeah. because it's such a good concept, and then it just
Yeah, it
It's
really
like
is.
whatever.
very.
We could come up with 10 way cooler ideas than they made for this whole game, and like, oh my god, it's just
Well,
so disappointing. To me.
Let's
Let's
make
buy
a
the
game.
rights to Crusader of Centy.
Make
and
Crusader of
Crusader
Centy
of
2.
yeah.
Let's go.
And Crusader of Centy Kart with the racing cheetah minigame.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on getting the rights.
He could be in the new. Doesn't there like a Sega racing game? He could be in that. And then
Oh yeah, Sonic. Yeah.
Yeah, Sonic All Stars
whatever.
Racing Transformed or whatever.
hell yeah.
But so there was one like this was when I was leaning towards hating the game, and then I did that one temple where there's like multiple floors, and each floor is a different puzzle. Like I really like that because, well, let me rephrase that. I really liked every single one except for the room that you walk in, and it's a bunch of those rubber bands, and I was like, this is gonna be scuffed, and it totally fucking was.
I love the noise that makes though.
It
I
does
jumped
make
into
a
noise.
that one and just like flew into the exit so quickly. It was
Yeah.
insane.
Me too.
I like
Um,
that tower. It's just a bunch of little mini puzzles.
I think that
like
that's
I like
that,
those.
that
I
puzzle with the
couldn't
rubber
play that
band.
part.
That's like an example of if you overthink the puzzle and try to hit it some nasty angle to like go where you think you should, you'll mess it up when really all you have to do is just walk forward.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, I did that part. I did do that. That's where I ended the game, near that part.
No, you hit the high point.
Like, you know where the mummies start coming out of the walls? That's about where the game ended for me.
That made me realize. I think the actual exact moment I checked out was the string boss at the top of the tower.
That guy was hilarious though, dude. Come on.
He was hilarious, but then I just stopped.
You think you
taking
can
him
climb me?
serious.
I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
whoever
just
came
like,
up with
why
that
can't I hit
boss
it?
was, give that guy a raise. Give him his own game.
Am I
Yeah,
right in
actually,
thinking? Am I correct in thinking that he was only vulnerable when he fell apart and not when he was dancing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was
Really
long time.
engaging boss fight,
Yeah.
by the way.
You stand at the bottom and
Let's not act like any of the only bosses that were cool were
The
the
dragon
weird.
with the sword.
Yeah, he was pretty cool, but I like the gimmick fights of like this. Oh, you didn't fight them, super. The senses,
Yeah,
Yeah, they were
especially the
cool.
one that's Pac-Man.
Yeah, I,
like
love
the
the
hands
Pac-Man boss.
walking you into the spikes.
Yeah. That was cool.
I'm mad now.
I actually liked all the boss fights. Like I didn't think they weren't challenging necessarily, but they were.
The ice fire one offended me the most.
What was your favorite one, Chris?
I forget. I don't know. The big sword guy in the cloud place.
Did you guys say in this game, dude? That guy fucked me up like
Yeah.
10 times.
I don't even remember.
It's because he has the Mega Man X3 Sigma problem where he has like one little tiny hitbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like his tail can't hurt you. The only way he can hurt you is if he hits you with his sword.
Yeah, he's
Found
just
a
trying to
sword
push you off the
hitbox,
ledge.
like,
So if
super
you just like stay
pro.
above him, you
Yeah,
can just throw
that's-
your sword at him.
I just ended up equipping the cheetah and just like running up above him and then running back
Yep.
down again.
I always said the cheetah. Always.
Another problem with the game is that some powers totally outshone the other ones.
Well, yeah. Like the
Absolutely.
caterpillar, everyone was better than the caterpillar.
I love the caterpillar.
Yeah,
the
you-
caterpillar, useless, but he's got a lot of
Caterpillar
heart,
was
and I'm
the
like,
best one.
I can jive with that.
He
Me
stayed in my
too.
party. He never left my party.
He never evolved. Damn.
Yep. He never went up on the wall there to the entrance of the Tower of Babel. He just stayed in my
Think
party.
about it, the caterpillar was the most important one based on
Yep.
Super's experience.
True.
He
just-
literally can't beat the game.
You didn't nurture him enough. Did you not feed him the leaves?
I fed him Cheetos.
Oh, okay. That's where you went wrong.
Yeah, Cheetos and pixie dust.
You just fed him Cheetos and gave him an iPad all day, and so he took
Okay.
He's so poorly behaved.
Oh no, dude.
He never realized his full potential. Okay, I feel like we've talked it out. So, do you feel like we're at a good time to have our closing
Sure.
thoughts here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go first since I went last. But like I said, at the end of it, I really came out of this game leaning positive. Like, was it great? No, definitely not. But there was enough in it that I was like, you know what? The game's pretty cool. It's like the puzzles. Once the game actually kind of hit its stride, which I feel like they they literally detrimentally planned for the game to hit its stride way too late rather than very incrementally, like, and that did it so much injustice. Just led it to not have like its best showing, and but despite all that, I saw the good despite all the bad, but definitely contended with all of the bad as well. Like I can't refute any of the guys or like any of the points that you guys have made because they're absolutely correct. It was just like the system of the animals, it was a neat idea, underutilized, kind of half-baked as well. It was still really cool. Like I equipped the fire and the ice at the same time, and it made my sword turn a different color and do more damage, and also make some weird circle damage over time effect happen. I don't know, because the game is very bad at explaining a lot of the stuff that it does, but it never got in the way of itself. Like when I was playing it, I mostly enjoyed what I was playing, and the story, just like the gameplay, leans in all the way too late, but it had some moments that I was very like, oh damn, like okay, all right. And it overall, the story, I appreciated it, but they definitely fucking dropped the ball as a whole. But overall, like I'm not gonna give it a less than 50%, but this game was definitely a solid like 6, like barely a 6, maybe leaning more towards a 5.75, but definitely I'll sit at a 6.
I guess I will go next. I think 6 is fair. So, I mean, there's a lot about the game that I really liked. I really liked the music. I liked some of the ideas, although they weren't perfectly executed like BZ talked about. I found myself laughing while playing the game. I found myself feeling, a little bit of emotion. I'm not going to say it was really super intense, but feeling a little bit. And typically for me, when a media like this makes you feel something, that means it's done something right. I think it's held back by a lot of problems like underutilized mechanics, poor translation, probably a little bit of slipshod game design, I will say, and just a lot of people feeling misdirected at parts of the story and parts of the dungeons. You can't just ignore that. But at least for my experience, I just sort of experienced things in just the right sort of sequence of events. I got to talk to a lot of people, see a lot of things. I ended up enjoying it more than I expected to when I was first swinging my sword at birds and just missing them, for sure. So I think I'm gonna probably put it at a 7. I enjoyed it, like, barely. And it's too bad that it's like a soft 7, I would say.
Yeah,
like
I feel that, like, kind of, it's like a breeze could
6.9.
sway the score.
Yeah, a breeze could bring it to a 6.5 for sure. But I don't feel like giving it a 6.5 because I honestly feel like I enjoyed it much more than I disliked it, especially compared to most of the games we played. I was having a pretty decent time, and it ended kind of right when I felt like it needed to. So, yeah, that's it.
Most of the games we've played.
Most of them.
Most of them.
Not like Kirby Superstar. That game was perfect.
Yeah, very, very perfect. All right, I'll go next. Can't really give it a score because I didn't finish it because my playthrough literally broke. But I did overall come away from it, with a positive outlook. I enjoyed it more than I disliked it for sure. I don't know if it's because I didn't play through the whole game or what, but a lot of the little things you guys mentioned just never occurred to me. But when you say it, yeah, I absolutely see what you're saying, and I'm not going to disagree. I don't know. It's very forgettable, very whatever. I guess I'm glad I played it. It's funny what happened to me, so it makes a funny story.
Yeah, that is a really unique experience.
I'm glad I played it. Won't play it again. Can't really give it a score because I didn't beat it, but I'll give it a Chris score. 1 floating dog out of 1 broken playthrough.
Nice.
Speaking of Chris scores,
Well, I think we covered most of this game's issues and shortcomings. I think it does have good ideas, and I think the biggest crime is that it underutilizes the animals, and it could have been a lot better. Game could have been good if the game was good. Um,
Well said.
yeah, I don't know. Overall enjoyable. I don't want to play it again, but it's totally fine. Game's
not gonna be
alright.
doing a yearly playthrough.
Yeah. You know, I was talking to
Randomizer.
Colin about it. It's like, this is probably somebody's Link to the Past. Like, there's probably
is,
somebody
uh,
somewhere who's still arguing that this game is better than Link to the Past.
You
I'd
should
argue
find
that.
that person.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
person.
We'll find them and have them on the show and interview
Become that person.
If you're that person, type in the comments below.
Yeah.
Chris is gonna get a bowl for his head.
them.
The
What's
Danny
your Chris
fighting
score, though?
these bees is the entire game.
Yeah.
This sums up the combat of the entire game.
I've got no score.
No
Okay.
score?
Score. No bull hat out of floating dogs.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself now.
He did that last time. I'm gonna have to get out of our club, dude.
Whoa. Wow.
I love Chris's scores. I look forward to them every time.
I know. I'll
Chris,
have
come
one.
up
Went
with a
from
score next
0
time,
to
I'll
10 real
try.
quick. You're out of the club.
Is it my turn?
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
So despite this game offending me, it had some cool ideas, even if it was poorly executed. But even if it was more engaging, like whether that be better combat or less obtuse direction, or like was fun for me at all, the lack of consistent rules made the game extremely frustrating and unenjoyable. And I think a lot of that comes down to me being obsessed with design.
Holden,
and-
Could I ask you a question, like from a design perspective? Because there's
Of
a
course.
weird feeling I have about this game. This game feels like it had a design team, obviously, but I feel like they were in a room and everybody came up with an idea or ideas and they put them in the game, and there was nobody to massage out like how it played, or like any kind of nuance. Like somebody did the animal system, but nobody was on like level progression, and somebody did the puzzles, but nobody was in like level design to mix the puzzles. Like it felt like there were a lot of like solid ideas that could have been polished into something really good, but the people who were in charge of like doing the idea and fitting it in the game kind of shat the bed. And that happened with so many things, it felt like.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this game's development. Who knows if that was from lack of or like less playtesting, or it needed more time or whatever. But the execution was all over the place, and I would at least credit lack of direction for sure.
Makes sense.
And yeah, no, it feels bad because you guys know I genuinely do love clunky, weird games, but yeah, I don't know, it bothered me. It's gonna be a thinker for sure, but I'm giving it a harsh 4.5 out of 10.
Bang, a thinker and a stinker.
Oh,
I was thinking you're gonna get it lower than that. but-
4.5. Oh man, that's gonna be a thinker for me.
Toilet thinker.
Yeah, I'm
You
gonna
know what? I'm very glad we played it.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
Oh, it just it like really highlights do's and do nots for me.
Oh, makes sense.
Like for instance, if the final takeaway is consistency in rules is that much more important in my mind, then that's a good takeaway, you know.
Mm.
Well, and it makes other stinkers like Castlevania Dracula X look pretty good.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know about that.
Well, there are
Come
other
on,
things
dude.
other than rules that are factored.
That game at least was more fun, subjectively.
I'd do another playthrough of this before I ever touch Dracula X.
Me too, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I feel like-
would play Dracula X.
And there.
Real quick though, on my conclusion, when I started off talking about the big YouTube video, I'll link you guys privately or whatever in the Discord. But it had so many views and so many comments saying, "This is my favorite game. I play it once a
Mhm.
year." And I saw those comments after playing this and went, "What the heck? That's insane. That's
Genesis
nostalgia.
kids, bro.
It's
Yes.
just crazy. That's
That's
insane to me."
It's the Ocarina of Time effect.
No, no.
But-
Oh God.
Oh,
Colin?
All right, now you're
Really?
out of the club too.
yeah. Everybody's out.
No, it's so true.
No, I
Really
think
just
that's
compared
the-
this to Ocarina of Time.
No,
it-
just the nostalgia.
It's a good point with nostalgia because I feel like if I had this
Kirby
game
sucks.
when I was like 7
Yeah, well, not as
And-
much as this game.
and played it frequently, I would feel much more positively toward it because I would just know all of its weird little tricks.
Yeah, I bet
would-
every kid who had a zoo
Yeah.
books loved this game. You know.
Don't
Yeah, don't
expose
come at
that.
zoo books like that.
Zoo books, fuck. This is
There goes our Zubuk sponsorship.
Oh
Yeah,
man, I'm gonna
dude.
get an
Think
email.
before you speak next time.
Holden was a highlights kid for sure.
I
What a
was.
dork.
If Slylock Fox was an animal you could get in this game, it would have been way better. I will admit.
There is like a raccoon guy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was a thing.
Did you not get him,
Person
Danny?
eats your mother.
No, I did get him, and then you talked
Okay.
to that one girl, and she's like, "I bet you didn't get so and so." And I'm like, "I did," and he seems completely fucking useless.
I was pissed he didn't have a ball
Right.
sack.
Yeah, he didn't have a ball sack, and all he did was make projectiles go towards him. Like he didn't do anything cool.
Oh, that's not even what I thought he would do based on the translation. I never tried him because I was like, man, fuck
Oh,
this game.
man, come on.
Dude,
You and
it
Holden
goes
didn't even
back
play
to
this
the.
game.
Tell me about it. Tell me what you thought
Dude.
about this game.
I'm giving it a 5.5 out of 10.
That's
For the reasons we've talked about, I think it has a bunch of disparate ideas that are inconsistent in quality. Some of them are good, some of them are not. But I think that there is somewhere in here with much massaging and QA and solid direction, there could have been a really nice game in here. But I think to get a whole lot out of this, you really have to try. You have to try very hard to play it on its terms. You have to try to make sense of the narrative and to your point, Darth, you did feel something, but I think it's because you were stop it. I think it's because you were making an effort. And by the time I
True.
got
Very
to
true.
the points in this game where like I could have gotten something out of making an effort, I was like, hold on, I was checked out. I just didn't care, you know, just trying to beat it because I didn't want to not beat the game. Only had that happen to Kirby Superstar so far because that game's terrible. I'm just kidding.
Yep.
no.
And a lot of my friction with this game is purely mechanics. I did really like what it was trying to do in terms of tone and in the narrative. I think it could have been very cool. It's got the same problem there that Illusion of Gaia has with the translation. Illusion of Gaia doesn't suffer as badly as this does, I think, which we've talked about. So anyway, I think in this case, a 5 out of 5 is about my enjoyment and about what it really deserves in
Yeah.
terms of its objective quality.
That is fair. You said you wanted to. I said something about how I like this game better than Illusion of Gaia, and you said that you thought there was a reason for that. Do you remember what you were thinking?
Oh, because it's easier.
That makes sense.
And that I don't mean that as like me being shitty or taking shots or anything. It's just if you have to go through the longer dungeons and more confusing dungeons of Illusion of Gaia, and maybe have to redo some of that because of the boss fights or like struggle with not having healing items because you didn't know herbs existed or whatever, I could see that causing a ton of friction for you and just being like, dude, fuck this game. I am over it. You know, whereas in this game, like, yeah, you can die, but the bosses are really quite easy. And the levels themselves, you only suffer if you like try to play it like Danny just did. And I'm not saying like in that video that like he's playing poorly or something. It's just like if you try to play it the wrong way, if you try to play it too quickly, try to bully your way through the level, it will sometimes just bounce you, and you'll just like lose your whole life bar. So I think that the difficulty was a big reason, but maybe not. You would have to tell me.
In the game's defense, I was not supposed to be there yet.
Actually, I have no idea what the intended order is. It seemed like it. It's the furthest place you can go. So I would
You
think you're
need
supposed to be
chili to fight the dragons, and I was just getting mauled by them because I
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
hurt them.
That area was one of the first places where I was like, just throw the sword, dude, because I am not hitting these guys with the stupid hitbox and this sword. They're flying across the screen. I better just chuck my sword at them,
Dude, you ever do the Leviathan and the Dodo and hit the attack button as fast as possible?
You just
Yeah.
you go nutso mode. I never actually attacked anything with it, but man, did I
Yeah,
stand in place
exactly.
just mashing.
Just mash and like, oh, that was cool, and then never
Actually,
equipped it again.
Yeah.
I found one use for it. You know that part where you're like in the final area and there's like those bubbles that go away. After
Oh
you
yeah,
hit
and they hurt you and push you back to
yeah,
the start.
the
yeah.
really really fast ones. I was like, if you equip those two together, then you can just
Hmm.
slash through.
Oh, that's cool actually.
No, I like the way you put it, Colin. Like this game, like if it had more of a team or the right team, like this game could have been nasty. Like this game could have been super cool, and like
The task killer.
yeah, it could have been the actual Zelda killer. And it kind of makes me sad because then it's like I could see myself on that tightrope that I was on, except it wouldn't have been a tightrope. I literally would have just been in the I fucking love this game camp. And it's like it's sad to think about. Like this game could have like it almost feels like with just one person, like overseeing, like being like, oh, maybe this is like it could have been so much more than it is. Like it wouldn't have gotten one floating dog at one bowl cut hat, and
Yeah, or be broken so much that Super couldn't beat it.
yeah. So it's
It's not even hard to do what I did, dude. Like you'd
No,
think
you
the
just walk
door
out.
would shut to the boss in the boss room, right?
I bet that just never came up in their quality testing.
in their
5 minutes
one
of
play tester.
playtesting,
Yeah.
Remember the good old days when games shipped in a finished, unbuggy state? Didn't need to be patched.
No.
Did that ever happen?
No.
I think that's the joke.
Yeah,
But
no.
Sorry.
All right, well then I feel it's a good wrap up. Chris, I really appreciate this pick. Like
Damn.
I like
it too.
I like playing games that obviously a lot of us knew fucking nothing about. Didn't know the name. I didn't know this was on the Genesis. But it's nice to, because like had this game been a little bit better, it's like, man, maybe this would have been like, wow, this is one of my favorite games. Unfortunately not, but still a good playthrough. And I think that takes us to time to find out what the next thing we'll be playing.
Spin
is
that wheel.
Simon's Quest.
Simon's Quest.
Could
No,
be.
please God
Now
no.
back on the
It-
board.
It very much could be Simon's Quest, but it is not like a 33% chance.
That was so scary.
Fucking God. Holy shit. But as the folks at home will now see, we got a thick fucking wheel to deal with here. This is a watch. If we get Simon's Quest when we got this many fucking things on this wheel, I'm gonna scream.
Look at these games.
Yeah, there's a lot of games on here. Some new
Wondra.
additions
Who
too.
put Sonic Spinball on here? Dude, come on.
Dude, I
Hey.
can't catch a break. Everyone's just firing strays towards me today.
Nothing saying about Sonic Spinball or anything or whatever. So I have upgraded the wheel. The spin will go a little bit longer this time, just to make it a little spicier. Chris, you were saying?
It's Drawn to Life.
Exactly.
Okay. I was thinking of Drawn to Death, I think, which is what's his name? That Twisted Metal guy. Never mind.
What?
We'll find out what game that
Find out
Twisted
what
Metal
game,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Find
all
out
right.
about Drawn of Life like 4 years from now.
We will spin that wheel.
No reaction.
Oh, Terraligma, really
Ooh,
crazy.
Terraligma. So this is the a follow-up
Oh
to
yeah.
yeah, this is the pinnacle of the Soul Blazer trilogy. So we have played Illusion of Gaia, and now this is the game that kind of follows in the shoes, if you will. It's the end of the trilogy. This is one of my picks, and I will let you guys know this game's kind of longer. Like, it's gonna be on the longer
Yep.
side. So,
As long as, if not longer than, Illusion of Gaia. So
What is the relation, if any? Are we about to find out?
we are
It's-
about to
it's-
find out.
should I answer that?
Yeah, you can
I
answer
don't
that.
know.
It's not. So it's not a sequel. It's
Mhm.
thematic sequel. Like,
Gotcha.
yeah, not the same world. I mean, I guess it could be, but nothing solid.
You don't have to play the
Yeah.
others.
Yeah, it is a part of the trilogy, but they can be experienced independently.
Okay.
But now we have not experienced them independently, so we will see what that kind of means. So I'm excited to play a video game, which this game is, and like I said, it's a longer one, so make sure to play said video game. But
We
I
all know
think-
you like it. It's okay. You can say it.
I would video game. Colin's backing me into a corner here. We'll find out
Give
whether
your
that
opinion.
statement reigns true when we talk about this game in a month from now for episode 15. But that kind of wraps us up here for episode 14 of Seriously Casual Crusader of Centy for the Sega Genesis. Colin, Chris, Holden, Super, and Darth. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for the rip. It was a real wet one, as Holden would say.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good
Always
chat.
a pleasure.
Good times.
But yeah, so till next time when we are here to talk about more of the Soul Blazer trilogy. I will catch you gentlemen later, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for chatting and kind of following along at home.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, GG.
Okay, bye.
I was waiting for that one. All right. Catch everybody later. Thanks for watching. See you next time.